again, everybody. Welcome back to Farm Grown Hatches. And today we are going to make jerky. And it is not your regular beef jerky, because today I have wild duck and goose breasts, and they can be used just like beef. So first we're going to take just a few out of the bag. So as you can see, they're very different in size. So this one is just from a duck, and this one is from a goose. And because when we pound them out, we don't want massively huge pieces of jerky, I'm going to slice them thinner. So there'll be more pieces to pound, which in turn is more jerky, but it's also easier to pound because it will already be thin slightly. And because if I were to try and pound this big boy out, it probably wouldn't fit in my dehydrator by the time I got it small enough. And it would mangle the muscle too much and it just wouldn't work very well. So we're going to thin these out and trim them up. Let's go. So if I trim up, I'm going to take off extra fat that might be there. There's not a lot because they're quite lean, but when you dehydrate the jerky with the fat, some people like it. It can be oily or it can be chewy. And I'm also going to make sure there's no big bruises or freezer burn on them either. There we go. 3 bags of duck and goose breasts, all sliced thinly. Now I just got to gather ingredients and we're going to make a batch of the jerky marinade before we start pounding this out. See you in a minute. Alright, now that we've got our meat cut, I'm going to make a batch of the marinade and have that ready so that as we pound the meat out, we can just stick it straight in the marinade. And it covers the meat much better than, piling it in and then adding the marinade. So, and I will leave the recipe for the marinade in the description below if you would like to make this yourself. So we are going to triple my marinade recipe. So we're going to start with 3 cups of soy sauce. Alright, next is 1.5 cups of brown sugar. Um, 6 tablespoons of liquid smoke is what it calls for, but I'm only going to do 4 because the flavor is quite strong, so it'll be just fine. Then I'm going to do 3 tablespoons of paprika. And 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. And 1 teaspoon of salt. So we're going to mix this up well. Try and get that salt and that sugar and everything dissolved into the soy sauce. I think that's as dissolved as I'm going to get it. And we're just going to put it back in this big pan that I had the meat in the fridge in. I've gone and I washed it. And as I pound the meat out, we'll fill this up. And I will make another batch of marinade if we need it. And as I pound out the meat, I'm using my meat mallet. I'm using the pointed end to break up those muscles and allow more marinade to get in there and make it taste better. dehydrating nicely. We'll cover this with some plastic wrap and stick it in the fridge for probably a day and a half, and then we will start to dehydrate it. So we will make a plethora of jerky. I forgot to mention, as you probably saw, I did a couple more batches of marinade. I ended up doing 2 triple batches and 1 double batch of my recipe for this giant batch of jerky. Alright friends, it has been a little over 48 hours since I put this jerky in our fridge. And now I'm going to put them on the dehydrator trays. I have borrowed a dehydrator from a friend. So it's the smaller one. So this is, I will put the smaller jerky pieces on this one. And then our dehydrator trays are larger, so we'll put all the big ones on here. And when I'm doing jerky, I always put a dark colored towel on my counter or my table or whatever work surface I've got, so that all the marinade drippings don't get all over, and then I can just toss this in the wash and we're good. Saves a lot on cleanup. So let's see how much of this jerky fits on these trays. I will probably have to do, probably 2 rounds at least, maybe 3. And for my dehydrator, my big one, mine has an adjustable thermostat, and it's set to about between 145 and 155 degrees. And the jerky usually takes 12 to 24 hours in mine at that temperature. And for the one I borrowed from a friend, he was telling me that there's an adjustment on the lid for airflow, and just to adjust it each day and rotate the trays, and he said it'll take probably 2 or 3 days. So we will see. Now let's get filling trays. And remember, when you're putting your jerky on your trays, to leave some space between each piece so that the airflow can get around it and it can dry more thoroughly and in better time. Refrigerators are full. We probably put, about 3/4 of what jerky we've got marinating in here, so I will keep an eye on those over the next day and a half or so. And when a tray comes empty again, I will refill it, and we'll just keep going till we're done. Alright guys, so the jerky is all done. I finished probably early afternoon today, and I got 3 big Ziploc bags, nearly all the way full. We have been snacking on it a little bit. And I filled my big dehydrator all the way once, filled the borrowed dehydrator all the way once, and then I ended up having enough for 5 more full trays out of 9 in my big dehydrator. So this will not last us very long, especially if I just let the kids and Tyrell have at it, because we all love jerky around here. But I will probably put 2 of these in the freezer for now and keep one out, and then we'll eat it as we want and as we need to. Also, remember, I will put the recipe for this down in the description below if you guys would like to make it yourself. And yeah, there you have it. Unconventional jerky. Jerky made with wild duck and goose breasts instead of out of your regular beef. Alright, you guys have a good day.